What's up everybody? Thank you for tuning in to the Galaxy Design channel, and I've got a great video for you guys this week. This week we're going to be talking about building a stress-free business. Because when you're not stressed out, you make much better decisions, you're a way better business owner, and ultimately you can enjoy having a business a lot more. And as we all learned recently, there are a lot of things in business that you can't control and can't predict. But there are also many things that you have full control over as a business owner. So we're gonna get into some of those tips today. Here are 5 tips for creating a stress-free business. But before we get into the list, I'm gonna need a little bit of extra fuel today, so let's get a coffee. All right, we got some pretty good coffee here. The Kent Coffee Dark Roast, pretty nice stuff. It's hard to not spill the coffee when you're trying to pay attention to the camera too. All right, I've got my dog, I've got my coffee, everything that you need to shoot a video right here. Oh, this coffee is delicious. All right, let's get into the list. And the first tip here is to target a demographic. So when I started my business, I didn't really think that much about targeting a specific demographic. I kind of just went after any business that I could get. And I think that's what a lot of people do at first. And it's actually a pretty huge mistake because you don't have the resources or the time and mental energy to target all different types of industries and business owners. You really have to niche down and go after a specific group. So obviously as a small business, you don't have unlimited resources for marketing, but even if you did, there's a lot of other factors that justify targeting a specific demographic. For instance, the same message isn't going to work for all different groups of people. And it's not just the message that's going to be different. In fact, people from different demographic groups use different platforms. So just to give you guys a silly example, let's say that you're selling dentures. You don't really have to market those on TikTok, as it's mostly young people that use TikTok. If you're gonna sell dentures, maybe advertise on TV or maybe use Facebook. So another way that you can target a specific demographic is to target a specific industry. So one of the industries that I like to market towards is real estate. I find that I get quite a bit of business in real estate, especially when I market my video and photography services. And I realized that there is a huge advantage in targeting that industry because it gives me an opportunity to learn the ins and outs of the industry, and then I'm really able to communicate with my clients on their terms. If I were targeting a whole bunch of industries, chances are I would have to spend a lot of time researching all of the specifics of those industries, and that could actually distract me from producing the best possible videos and photos. And finally, when you stick within a specific industry, you also have the ability to tap into a network. So for example, because I work for a lot of real estate agents, I tend to get referred to other real estate agents. So I've been able to get a bit of traction and a bit of brand recognition within those social circles. And if I were targeting a whole bunch of different industries, that would be basically impossible to achieve. All right, so let's get into our second tip, which is get deposits. So this is another mistake that I made when I started my business. I didn't always get deposits when I started a new project. And this can actually be incredibly stressful. You're always worried about getting the money for the project and you're not actually able to focus on doing the best possible work. Getting deposits helps you focus on building an excellent relationship with your client. It's really important when you onboard a new client that you really get them used to the procedure by which they're going to pay your invoices. And it ultimately means that you're a lot less likely to experience cash flow issues, which can derail a lot of businesses. All right, so moving right along here, the third way to reduce stress in your business is to track your hours. So if you have a service-based business like I do, one of the really good ways of quoting a project is to quote it by the amount of hours that it's going to take you. It's really important, again, when you're doing a service business, to define the scope of the projects that you're taking on. It's really important before you even start that project to know what the project entails. What are all the different steps that you're going to take to achieve the goals of your client? How much are you going to work? What are you going to work on? And what are the things that you're not going to work on as part of that project? So one thing that I really like to do is in my quotes, I'll include a rough estimate of the amount of hours that I think it's going to take to complete the task. And then I very carefully track my hours as I execute that project. And if things change or the amount of work increases, I have a paper trail to show my client to say, I've done this amount of work and you have this many hours left on the project. It's a really good way to avoid doing more work than you originally quoted for. And if you keep really good records of the amount of hours that it took you to do different types of jobs, you'll be a lot better equipped to quote those types of jobs in the future, and you're gonna look really professional. If you're able to say to a client, hey, I did a project exactly like this last month and it took this many hours and that's what I'm quoting you, that looks really good. So all in all, tracking your hours is a really good way to have your own back in business and help to reduce stress. All right, so moving right on with the list, we are on to tip number 4, which is organize your leads. And this is something that's super important and something that I've really been focusing on this year. This is the first year that I've ever used CRM. I use HubSpot to keep all of my contact information in one place, and it's been hugely helpful. Because it is one of the most stressful things about business to have disorganized leads, because then you're wondering where contact information is and you're just worried that a lot of good business is falling through the cracks. And what's worse is if you have to contact a client multiple times to ask them for their email address or their phone number, that's just embarrassing. So I highly recommend that you organize your leads. You can do it in just a spreadsheet, like Excel document or Google Sheets, something like that. But I actually recommend that if you want to get really serious about it, use a CRM like HubSpot. So how you're going to organize your leads, the categories that you're going to use are really going to depend on the type of business that you have. But I find that it's really helpful to organize my leads by where they are in the sales process. So the 3 categories that I like to use when organizing my leads are contacts, prospects, and clients. I think it's pretty obvious what all of those mean, but contacts is just pretty much anybody that I can market towards. Prospects are people who I think I have a pretty good chance of making a sale to, and clients are people who have already bought from me in the past and will continue to in the future. And the messaging that I'm going to send to these different groups is all going to be a little bit different, and it's very important to have those leads organized. So save yourself the stress of having unorganized leads and the embarrassment of having to ask your clients for contact info multiple times. Also save yourself worrying that leads are falling through the cracks. Just make sure that you have some sort of system to keep all that stuff organized. All right, so we are on the 5th and final tip, which is really good because I'm almost out of coffee. And the 5th tip here is to use accounting software. This is a huge mistake that I made when I started my business. I wasn't very organized with my accounting, and when it came to tax season, I was super stressed out. I had no idea what my business expenses were, and it was just a huge mess. But these days, my accounting game is really up to par. I use this software called Wave Apps. It allows me to track all of my income and expenses throughout the year, and it makes things really streamlined and headache-free when it comes to tax season. And it's really important to track your business finances, not just in tax season, but throughout the rest of the year as well.
When you're quarantined and you have to make videos at home while your fiance works from her laptop. Cheers!
If you have a good record of your finances in previous years, it's also going to help you plan out your spending. Keeping track of your business's income and expenses puts you in control and helps you make decisions quickly. So save yourself a lot of stress and track your expenses. And we've reached the end of this video. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you guys are able to implement some of these tips to reduce stress in your business. Because after all, you didn't start a business to get stressed out. You started a business to gain more freedom in your life and more control over your circumstances, and that's what we're gonna do together. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.